Hi, my name is Aimee and welcome to Bleeding Tree Gaming. I recently went on holiday to Mayerhofen, Austria for Snowbombing, a week-long music festival held every year in this picturesque alpine town. It wasn't all play though.
I challenge you to paint an orc on top of a mountain!
Well, I'm going to a festival. I do need to paint an army of rave orcs, so would be the place to do it.
Yes!
Okay, I'll see what I can do then. Well, I've had half the week to relax and party. It's Wednesday now and I'm heading up the mountain to go paint. The views from the gondola are absolutely breathtaking, so let's hope it inspires me to paint something great. The main concern I have going into this is that it will be too cold up there for me to hold a brush properly. It's around -2 degrees Celsius up there or 28 degrees Fahrenheit, so not unbearable. But if it starts snowing, the temperature could easily drop further. I'm going to go set up at Romper's Reggae Shack, a venue up on the slopes where I'd be meeting my friends most afternoons after they've been snowboarding. Time to get on with painting. I immediately ran into a problem. I'm not sure if it was because of the altitude or my paints recently having been in the hold of a plane, but every single drop of bottle of paint exploded the first time I tried to pour from them. By the end, I was covered in paint. This model is an Ardboy drummer for my rave-themed Ironjawz army I'm working on, so a festival seemed like the perfect place to paint it. The main element of the scheme I picked for them is this bright pink armour. It was worrying me how I'd replicate this across an entire army, but I figured I'd improve as I went. What I quickly found out is that the armour I painted at home in my studio wasn't replicable on the mountaintop. All the layers of highlights and glazes I usually use to smooth out those blends were just not possible. After a few attempts at getting smooth blends, I had to admit defeat. My paint was starting to behave weirdly on my wet palette, clumping up and refusing to flow smoothly. At this point, I needed a break to reassess. It was obvious that I needed to drastically change the way I approach painting if I was going to salvage this model in any way. When I got back to painting, I immediately noticed ice forming in the paint on my palette. This was bad. Would my painting experiment be cut short? At this point I gave up on smooth blends and just tried to get some base colours down on all of the model. Areas like the drum I used contrast paints on to speed things up. Unlike the more traditional acrylics, contrast was flowing perfectly normally straight from the pot. I wanted to do some freehand on the drum skin, but what I didn't account for is the fact that freehanding is 99% being able to fix your mistakes afterwards, something I absolutely couldn't do. With my paint rapidly freezing, I had to settle for a very rough SB for snowbombing. At this point, it was clear that I couldn't keep working any longer. I quickly raced around the model with some very rough edge highlights. Unfortunately, my mountaintop painting experiment was over. Time to enjoy the rest of my holiday. I even attempted snowboarding. I wasn't very good at it. When I got back from holiday, I finally had a chance to break down the painting I'd done on the mountaintop and see how I could apply the lessons I'd learnt to painting at a normal altitude. I was interested to find out why the paint had behaved so differently on the mountaintop. So Pete, as a scientist, can you explain why my paint was acting so weirdly at high altitude?
For the last time, I'm not a scientist. I just work with computers.
You know, computers, science. Same thing, innit?
Air cold, paint freeze.
My friend had sent a photo of the Mini, affectionately named Romper the Auric, to the venue organisers, and they'd asked if they could have the Mini as a mascot, but I couldn't send them something that I just wasn't happy with. Time to paint Romper for the second time, this one under optimal painting conditions. This time I started from the same base, a regular zenithal highlight which I then sprayed with Chimera Magenta. Instead of spending ages trying to get a smooth blend on that pink armour, I took the lessons I'd learnt from the mountaintop to heart, and decided on a happy midpoint between smoothly blended and completely unblended. And while the Mini I'd painted at 6,500 feet was messy and patchy, I could see there was something very cartoony or graffiti-esque that I could bring out with this. I'd used various different edge highlights on the mountaintop Mini, but the more cartoonish look of the unblended pink inspired me to use a single pure white edge highlight over most of the Mini. Something I wouldn't recommend if you're going for a more realistic style, but for this it fit the bill nicely. I used the same brightly coloured contrast paints to get some vibrant colours on the drum, but this time I had the luxury of adding in some shading and highlights. When it came time to do freehand, I could be a lot more precise with the luxury of smoothly flowing paint. However, I really wanted to capture that rough feel of the original, so I didn't spend ages tidying it up. I'm pretty pleased with the look. So here he is, Romper the Auric, ready to be sent off to listen to some sick tunes with his namesake. While I may not have been able to paint something I was proud of on the mountaintop, The experience definitely made me reevaluate the way I approach this army scheme. And I think the end result is way more eye-catching for a tabletop AOS force. What do you think? I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I've been Aimee for Bleeding Tree Gaming, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!